It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thank you for making us a part of your weekend. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles, my normal co-host, not with us today. He is calling high school boys soccer. It's a state championship weekend for the 3A and 2A. Morgan versus Ogden, the 3A game. That championship round will be at 11. And then the 2A state championship, American Heritage versus Mazer Prep. That game starts at 2. So go check those out at kslsports.com. Our guy Alex is great on the call, as always, but flying solo today. Sean producing behind the glass. Sean, what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Have a good week?
Yeah. Good week. You?
Very good, yeah. Went to Lagoon last Sunday.
Okay.
That was nice. It was a great time with the little nephews and niece. So,
do you frequent Lagoon?
Yeah, just ever since my brother had kids, I go there all the time.
Okay.
My mom gets the whole family season passes.
Yeah.
We just go whenever.
Man, in high school, I would get a season pass every summer. So for like 3 summers in a row, I would go to Lagoon like
Same.
every week.
Same.
It was a lot. And now I'm kind of sick of it almost, because I went so many times.
No, I understand.
But it is, Lagoon's fun, especially this time of year. Did you hit Rattlesnake Rapids? Is it quite? Is it hot enough yet for that ride? Or
I didn't. Not last week, no.
Yeah,
but that is a favorite of the nephews.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a great one. Well, cool, man. Yeah, happy for you. Highlight of my week. I don't know if I really have anything that stands out. Well, it was just a lot of fun here on the station. We had a lot of big news. We'll jump into all of it. Probably the Utah Mammoth announcement was the biggest thing, and I think that was very exciting. We'll talk about that later. Before we get going on the show, though, a little bit of breaking news before the show got started. New Orleans Saints quarterback Derek Carr has announced that he is retiring. He's got a lingering shoulder injury that would require surgery, and if he got that surgery, it would knock him out for the entire 2025 season anyway. He's tried rehab. He's tried injections. Nothing has been working for him, so he is just retiring. Longtime Raider, of course. He's made 4 Pro Bowls in his career. That 2017 season, I want to say, was really special for him. He was in MVP conversations, and then he broke his leg. Was never really the same since, but he's always been a gamer. I mean, I think he has like 35 game-winning drives in his career, so he had a solid career, and much needed salary cap relief for the New Orleans Saints with this move. I almost wonder if Derek Carr is going to unretire eventually, maybe use this as a loophole, kind of like what Gronk did, right? He retired for a little bit and then came back and played. I almost wonder if this is one of those moves, because the Saints really needed money, and I think both sides kind of wanted to move on here.
Yeah, and if he's not going to play this year, then
yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So this leaves a quarterback room essentially of Tyler Shuff. They just barely drafted him out of Louisville. Second-round pick a couple weeks ago. So he's a rookie second-rounder there. And then Spencer Rattler, who they drafted last year. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if they're going to bring in a vet or just roll with the young guys, but big news for the Saints. Of course, there's always NFL news going around, but we'll get that out of the way and jump right into things. As I mentioned, big week here on the show. The Utah Jazz kind of got things started. They announced they were extending head coach Will Hardy through the 2031 season. Kind of a peculiar move because he was already under contract through the 2026-27 season. He had 2 years left, and they decided to extend him anyways. Long story short, Will Hardy hasn't had the opportunity to win games for the Jazz. Essentially, ever since he's been here, the job has been lose games, get us a high draft pick, and that's what he's been doing. He's been a good soldier about it. Obviously, they finished this year with the worst record in the NBA. Can't do better than that, right? He's doing everything that they're asking him to do. So this is essentially the front office kind of rewarding that and saying, hey, we want to give you some long-term stability, right? You have come in, and this has been such a hard job for you because, of course, coaches want to win games, right? It goes against everything they know to lose games on purpose, or maybe the better way to put it is not try to win games, right? That goes against everything in the coach's DNA. So that's been tough for him, and the Jazz are kind of rewarding him, saying, you know what? We envision being out of this rebuild by that 2026-27 season, right? So this extension is going to give Will Hardy the opportunity to actually win basketball games once they come out of that rebuild. So it's good to see Will Hardy get rewarded, because it's been really tough.
Yeah, I really like Will Hardy. Just how thoughtful he is in press conferences, and just you can tell he really cares. At least that he exudes that when he's talking about the Jazz and the players.
He does really care, and he's given us some great sound bites. They love the culture that he's brought in with the team. They like what he's establishing here in Salt Lake City. So, again, he's never really showed on the court. You know, he's never had the opportunity to go out and win games, and that's the bottom line. So this extension is going to allow him to do that, but not right away. We know next season is probably going to be tough again, and then they will start winning games. So we'll hit a little bit more on that later. But to start the show off officially, I want to replay Ryan Smith. He joined Hans and Scotty earlier in the week. It was Thursday, and there was just a lot of news. The Utah Mammoth, of course, the name change there. And actually going back to them, they had the NHL draft lottery. They moved up from pick number 14 all the way up to number 4. So that's a big move. Ryan Smith joined Hans and Scotty Thursday to talk about everything, and here's that conversation.
Joining us now, he is the owner of the Utah Jazz and now the Utah Mammoth. Ryan Smith, kind enough to join us. Ryan, how are you?
Hey, Ryan.
What's up, fellas? It sounds kind of cool, huh?
It does.
Mammoth?
Yeah.
Oh,
You like it?
Killed it.
It's rolling.
Yeah.
We can work with that.
You know, it's just because, you know, you're on the air and you say it all the time and you get kind of that muscle memory for Utah Hockey Club. But yeah, Mammoth, I know this has been a long process. What's it been like behind the scenes putting something like this together?
You know, look, first of all, like, it takes a lot to be willing to kind of throw that out there and let the fans name the team, because it's going to test your conviction of that, like, pretty detailed. Primarily because, you know, anytime you throw something out on the internet, you know, a lot can happen. You know, and you know, it's not just words. I mean, with AI right now, someone's like, oh, you know, this is what it should be. Oh, and like this, right? And 5 minutes later, they come up with something that like a human hand could never even come up with. So I'm just super proud of our group for being very open, being committed to go with where the fans want to go, even though personally, I mean, you've got a lot of opinions around the group, from the design team to the group we hired externally. There's a lot of opinions there. And, you know, our fans made it super. When we got down to 3, our fans made it super easy for us. Like they go ahead.
How many votes was there?
We were close to 1 million. I mean, it was pretty incredible. And, you know, when we took the iPads around the arena with the final votes and attached, you know, pretty much full branding to them, which took a lot of work because we were basically building out what would be the identity of multiple different, you know, options. And then, you know, you've got to go and do the trademarks with all those at the same time. It wasn't like we went and created the identity of one team. Like, we did it for all of the options, because nothing can be worse than getting down to the end, choosing it, and being like, hey, we don't have the URLs and the signal and everything else, or the logos, and we can't do that. And, you know, obviously some people had Google Glass or were looking at it, but, you know, it was really cool that, you know, we had that home stretch in February that we had kind of circled, which was like 11 games in Utah, which, by the way, was so freaking awesome. Like 11 back-to-back where we're switching the court to the ice every night. And, you know, that was kind of the moment where Mammoth just took off. And we're like, okay, like, we've never seen in any of this, like this. I said it yesterday in the presser, because I was watching the Derby last week. And like when a horse starts pulling away, it's like there's nothing stopping it. And that's when it was like, that's it.
When you see the Easter eggs and they present, the final logo and say, this is what we put in, it's so much of what you wanted to build here with these teams has been Utah-centric. How much pride do you take in that?
Yeah, it was something that the cool part is we were all part of the design process. I was at least on like 200 calls, like everyone was. And, the state, like the amount of work to get that state right with the M in the bottom of it. And then, having gone through the jersey process for the Jazz, right when we came in and just knowing what, how long and hard that process is. And then finally getting all of our jerseys to a uniform color, uniform design, where the mountain is the connector that we can authentically own in the NBA. They're not going to give that away to anyone else. It's like Michigan's colors are like they're theirs, right? We own that mountain, and to be able to incorporate that here is pretty cool. And so we've got our Jazz jerseys, the white ones coming out this year, and then our form's set. Like, we'd love to just keep the branding the way it is all the way. It's taken a long time to kind of bring it all back in. But that's just the process it takes. And that's the other hard part about this is we're sitting there in February going, okay, we've got to let the NHL know kind of where we're at here, because the lead time to get this done. And unfortunately we have a great relationship. I'm pretty close to Michael Rubin of Fanatics, and, they were willing to do unnatural things to get us up this year so we could actually let the voting finish out, which is pretty cool.
Ryan, people that are in your situation amaze me because, you're sitting here dealing with logos and renaming, but then you're dealing with Delta Center rebuilding, and then you're dealing with NHL lottery, and you've got NBA lottery. You've got all these irons in the fire, but here we've got a fence around the Delta Center, and this thing is rebuilding, remodeling. How much day-to-day input and work is that for you in this remodel, and where are we at with this whole thing?
Yeah, so first of all, the way we've set up SEG with the people that we have, it's incredible. They have, it's about as entrepreneurial as it gets for our teams. And Jim Olson, who you guys know, president of the Jazz, is leading all the remodel there. And, he did a little bit of, he's been there. He ran Delta Center for a long time. And, I was in there yesterday walking with him. I've got, at least one call a day where we're going through stuff, but, it's interesting because this is a 3-year process. I wish you could take longer and really go through the design more, but it's hey, no, we got to go. We're doing only lower bowl this time, and then we'll go from one side to the other. And then, we're changing it. We're trying to keep the intimacy of Delta Center with the sight lines they are without blasting everything out and moving it back 50 feet like a lot of these arenas do. So when you're behind the hoop, you can't see over the person in front of you because it's so flat. And, I think that's what we've been able to accomplish by basically going riser all the way up, which is really cool because we have the ability to kind of walk in and say, okay, it's hockey, press button 2, and it all configures, right? It's like one of those transformers. And then hey, press button 1 and it goes. And it's kind of the only way to make it work. And so it's been pretty creative. But and also every time you go in there, this is a 30-year-old building. Every time you go in, you get in there and you're messing with the core of it. You've got to be very, very thoughtful on, architecture and, earthquake compliant, everything else. It's pretty good. Guys are going around the clock.
So Hans and I do a lot of remotes down in Sandy, and it seems like every time we drive past 106 and see that new facility going up, it's wow, I can't believe what has been done in a week. I can't believe what's been done in 2 weeks. That sucker's going to be ready come the beginning of fall for the Utah Mammoth. Just how much fun is that to be a part of and to really build out something that's never really been built at that scale here in the state of Utah before?
Yeah, Southtown, you might as well. We're going to call that Sports Town because it's this thing like these facilities definitely attract a lot of things, and it's probably going to be the number one place that our community interacts with our brands, and it's really cool because I think in talking to all the folks in Sandy, it's kind of been like, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this mall? Like it's just not vibrant, and to be able to walk in and kind of revitalize like how we see this, and it also, I think what's kind of going under the radar a little bit is it's going to provide a big anchor to South Salt Lake, right? And our players, when they come into town, often because everything is centralized in downtown, they kind of have to live in that sort of close area. It's weird when we have a player that lives down it's uncommon when they live down in like South Jordan or Draper or Sandy. I think if you look at where we're going, the experience people are going to be having who are not from here in Utah is going to be able to kind of straddle that whole bench all the way down on both sides of the freeway. And that's a different experience. Our hockey team, for example, they all want to live right by the facility. And so it really changes and sets us up to really kind of almost have like dual hubs in the city. And there's a lot of cities like that, like Dallas. We had an office in Legacy, and then there was obviously Arlington, and then what happened in downtown. Denver's very much that way, where, I remember working in college right before I started Qualtrics at the Tech Center right there, where you kind of had barbells within the city, and just people could come and have different options. Whereas like right now, when we always relocated people either for tech or whatever, and they were living in Salt Lake, it would be like, okay, we're going to go up into the Sugar House area. We're going to go here. Like it gives this ability to experience way more of our state the way that maybe some of us experience it as well. So it's really, it's really going to be a positive in ways that I don't think that we even know yet.
So after that completes and the Delta Center gets underway and is kind of down the line, what is the timeline and vision of the downtown reimaging look like for you, Ryan? Just is that 3 years that you gave us, or 3.5 years? Does that include downtown rebuild, or are we talking about quite a ways out?
No, I mean, I think in 3 years we'll definitely be underway, so you'll be able to see kind of how it comes together, where we'll be doing that. But there's a lot of work. I mean, the prep work downtown's real. We've got a building and a block, a lot of the block that we purchased, so that's got to come down, and that's going to take a little bit of time. And then our goal is just to really be able to make that experience that you kind of get inside the Delta Center be able to happen outside. So when someone comes, they're not coming into the city at 6:45, coming to a game and running to their cars at night and like hopping out of here. And so we believe that there's a way better experience that we can be offering as a city of Salt Lake and a state. If you think about what goes on in downtown, there's not a lot that's what we have in common with some of the other cities of that same size, because of either industry that's there, where there's just flow and activity all the time. When there's a big convention, we see it, or we saw it at All-Star, where, we want it vibrant. And, I think that we know that it will work, primarily because of the feedback we're getting from business owners down there. The amount of business owners who I've spoken with who said, I cannot explain what bringing hockey has done to my business. We never thought we would see it. And it's because that many more people are coming down, during those games. And so I think that that's going to be a a real unique, opportunity, because if you look at Salt Lake across from Delta Center, on the top part of where Delta Center is, you have, our blocks that are controlled and owned by the church. On the other side, you've got what used to be Gateway, and those kind of, for all intents and purposes, serve as walls. And then on the other side, you've got, the convention center. And so the ability to come out of Nordstrom's and just walk straight through the middle all the way down to Delta Center and just kind of have that paseo there is pretty powerful. And then the amount of brands, which I think is also important, that we can attract these brands to Utah. These are brands the same way that we were able to attract an NHL team where people didn't think it was possible. Well, what brands do we think we can get here? And this isn't retail. We're not trying to say, hey, let's get a Gucci or whatever it is. It's much more around, hey, what type of hotels, what type of entertainment, where is it that would give us, like, hey, this is where we want to go to lunch and go around. And so a place where we just want to gather and families can be. And so that's the vision of it. I'm kind of giving you the whole vision across everything that we have going. But I think the stage is set. And if you look at, someone coming in town, they're staying in the Hyatt there, they're staying in the Marriott, like, what's their experience? What's their experience when they wake up in the morning and they don't have a meeting till 10 o'clock? Where are they going? What are they going to do? What's our players' experience? We bring someone in for the Jazz. I mean, I'm looking out right now over the court, and we've got all these guys in here for pre-draft workouts. Like, a lot of them have never been to our state before. And so what is their experience this morning?
So you talk about the NBA draft and workouts and things like that. Monday is certainly a big day. What kind of good vibes can we put out there that we can recreate, hopefully, what happened with the Utah Mammoth? See, look, I screwed it up again, man. Holy smokes.
Well, look, I don't think I think you guys are doing it. You're all doing it. I think we all want these vibes. It's been something that, right or wrong, I mean, we've never moved up. And so, why not this year? Why not us? Right. And I think that's kind of how we feel. And, I think we're due. I think this is a good draft, and, we're in a good position. We're guaranteed a top 5 pick, and, obviously everyone wants number 1. My lucky charm, Ashley, is going to go represent Jazz, in there.
Hey,
I think she'll be the first woman who's ever done that. I just broke that to you guys right now.
Nice.
Whoa.
Right. I'll probably get in trouble for that because I'm sure the league's going to come out with who's representing us. But look, she's always been good luck for me, and she was down for it. I haven't been able to grab it. Ainge didn't get it. So it's like, let's break the mold. And, she's a big part of this. And so it's pretty cool. And that'll be a cool thing. So,
wow. How did she feel about this?
I don't know. It took we had to it's a little bit like when you you've got to have like a intricate conversation, and you got to hit it from a couple different angles. So Ainge helped me a little. It's like, we got to get Ash there. That's what's going to and so we kind of tried to have it kind of be something that we all came up with together. But look, she's all in, and she wants to be able to watch this, so she's willing to go through that because it's a lot. It's a lot to take on, and she's a gamer, and she's down, and that's why I love her.
Well, that's actually some big news, because jumping up to that 4 pick, it was incredible. Scotty and I were watching Bill Armstrong live when the 4 pick came in, and it took his breath out. Like it looked like he had jumped into a cold pool, Ryan. Like he could not breathe because of the impact that plays for him. And I've been trying to put into terms what this lottery means to our state and the SEG, and to us as sports entertainment alone, how do you even quantify a number one overall pick?
Yeah. I mean, and no one knows. Like, no one knows in this draft. I mean, there's, you know, as you kind of look in the playoffs and you look at who's coming out and tearing it up, like where people are, you know, you don't know if you're 5 or 7 years from now who the best players in the drafts are. It's never a science. But like, I think for me, it's definitely, you know, it would definitely be a moment in Utah's history, right? And I think we've had a lot of good momentum building in Utah. You know, I was just on McAfee before this, and, you know, they said, hey, how do you feel about the draft? What's going on? What do you think about being a small market? I just don't, you know, you've heard me say this before, we're not a small market. Like, we just don't have anything in common with the small markets. And I think that we need a moment or two, and right or wrong in the NBA, you just got to have some good fortune. You know, you can talk about your abilities all you want. You can bring in the best team. You can bring it. Like, you've got to get some good fortune. And, you know, the Spurs obviously got that, you know, 2 years ago. And you can, I mean, great. Like, you get the pick and you get Wemby. Like, that's pretty incredible. Like, what's there not to know, right? Like, you know, and so I think, you know, are we due some good fortune? I mean, definitely the story of where we are as a state and everything else is lining up for that.
Well, I got to tell you, in order to bring goodwill to the Utah Jazz, signing Will Hardy to a long extension, why are you squinting, Scotty? Was that not too funny?
We might, a little bit, a little bit.
Bringing goodwill, signing Will Hardy.
I like it, yeah.
The Will Hardy extension, Ryan, man, what an amazing thing for this team.
Yeah, and it just shows. I mean, that's. I mean, we're trying to build as much continuity as we can. I feel like Will has been such an incredible. You guys are up close and you see it. Such an incredible partner and ambassador. He's a heck of a basketball coach, and he signed up to do what, you know, is in some ways a little hard, where we're rolling with, you know, I don't know, what is it, 9 guys under the age of 23, and he's gonna develop these guys. And, you know, I think it's important for us. You know, we like Will more today than we did when we hired him. That, you know, he's a gamer. He's all in. It's how a culture and a vibe should feel between my position and Danny and Jay-Z and Will. You know, I'm around it all day long. I see it all day long. It's probably hard for fans maybe that don't see things from the outside, like, all the way. But, you know, we're going to win with Will, and we're going to win in Utah. And I want him to be able to see the work pay off as we start pulling out of a rebuild.
Ryan Smith joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I am a little curious. When you acquired the hockey club from Arizona and you sent out the pre-orders for tickets, and I think you said the number was anywhere from like 85 to 90%. There weren't a lot of crossovers between the NBA as well as hockey. Now that you have a full season of sample size under your belt, did you see that trend hold out, that the fans that were going to the Utah Hockey Club were a little different than what you saw from Jazz games?
I mean, you know, I can turn this back on Hans a little, like, because you've been to a couple games and I've had a chance to sit with you and talk through it. Like, this isn't like, oh, there's a new thing. It just doesn't feel like, oh, there's a new thing in town. Let's get it. It's like when Hamilton goes to the Eccles Theater. That's not what this is. It's like we have true hockey fans. Like, they are in love with the game. It's the ultimate team game, and they're in love with everything it stands for. And that's the part that I didn't anticipate. I didn't anticipate that the women in Utah would love hockey.
Yeah.
I didn't think through that all the way. It's not like I said, hey, I was thinking through that, but it's invigorating. It's contagious. And this is very different than, hey, we own a team because we own a team of one of the leagues. It's like, no, I love being there. I'm happy when I'm there. And I love rooting for it. I don't know, Hans, what do you think? Because we had those conversations in depth at the games.
Yeah, I would say the same. And to your point, I did bring the boys to one game, and I heard a lot of it from my wife. And she was like, I don't understand. Like, if you're going to go to the game, I'm going. And I'm like, she doesn't go to football games. She doesn't go to basketball games. She doesn't go to baseball. She loves hockey. And you walk around the arena and you're like, geez, it is packed with the female audience. They love hockey. And I thought that was a unique part of the crowd. And then the other unique thing was just the sheer volume of opposing fan base that was in that arena. That, they probably live here in Utah, but they've been lifelong Avalanche, or they've been over the last 8 years Vegas Knights fans, but that arena is packed full of NHL fans. And now that they got the Mammoth gear, I think eventually Mammoth fans are going to pinch them out as much as they can. But, Ryan, just to see the NHL fan travel to that arena while we're sitting there watching that thing was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's the hockey fans travel. They come in, and, our governor went up to Canada on a trade mission, and I think he told me, I saw him. He's like, I'd been doing this, or I'd been up there a bunch, and the amount of hockey questions, it's like completely changed it.
Yeah.
Because of Utah, and the fans are aware of who's in their league now. They want to come see the arena. They want to hear. Everyone wants to come to Delta Center once, and that's one of the things we're seeing. And so, we know we have, mountain basketball, and we're a hoop city, and this is what we do, and we've got hockey now rolling, and the synergies between them are pretty special. It's a good time to be in Utah.
There you go. Utah Jazz and Utah Mammoth owner Ryan Smith joined Hans and Scotty on Thursday to talk about the Utah Mammoth name change, the Delta Center renovations, the Utah Jazz upcoming draft lottery, and just everything that bringing hockey to Utah has done for Salt Lake City and really the entire state. So anytime you can hear from the owner himself, always a great opportunity. Coming up next, though, we're going to give kind of some takeaways to that conversation because it was very thorough. There was a lot of takeaway. And we'll hit that next. This is the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles not here today. He is calling high school soccer games, flying solo. But you just heard Ryan Smith in his interview with Hans and Scotty earlier this week that took place on Thursday. He talked about a lot of things. Obviously, the Utah Mammoth, the official announcement that was going to be the name and the branding going forward for a brand new hockey team. That was huge. And then we've got the NBA lottery coming up Monday. NHL lottery was last Monday. So a lot of news here on the station, and Ryan Smith was here to talk about all of it. Couple takeaways. My first big one, obviously, Ryan making the announcement that his wife, Ashley Smith, is going to be representing the Utah Jazz Monday night at the lottery. I thought that was big. First off, it was funny because, like he said, he was on Pat McAfee, the big ESPN show, literally 15 minutes before he was on Hans and Scotty, and he did not break that news there. It had been something that everybody locally was wondering, who is going to represent the Jazz at the lottery, and then he comes on Hans and Scotty and he says, hey, yeah, we're going to send Ashley. Don't know if I'm supposed to be revealing that yet. Hopefully the league does not get mad, but great stuff there from Ryan and Ashley, the power couple here, owners of SEG. And hopefully Ashley can bring us some much needed good luck because Monday night aside from the actual draft at the end of June, Monday night, the lottery, is one of the biggest nights in recent Utah sports history.
It's massive.
They can't make the pick until the draft, but if they beat the odds, if they end up with that number 1 pick, 14% chance, that changes everything. It turns the franchise around in a way that you can't really do without that number 1 pick, because then to go get a franchise player, you have to either wait a year until next year's draft, or you have to spend assets and go trade for somebody. So being able to get the number 1 pick this year and then get another high draft pick next year and then still have all your assets, that would be so big. And we need all the good luck we can get here in Salt Lake City. So Ryan is sending Ashley to Chicago. Another big takeaway I really liked is he brought up that he didn't say that he was offended, but he was borderline offended, I feel like, when Pat McAfee brought up Utah being a small market.
Oh, yeah.
Do not call us a small market.
We've got nothing in common with small markets.
No, nothing in common. And he mentioned that Utah, one of the fastest growing states in the country. The economy here is doing really well. We showed that we can support both an NBA team and an NHL team. And attendance numbers for both of those franchises were off the charts all season long. And he also mentioned there's not a lot of crossover either. So it's not just the same people going to Jazz and Utah Mammoth games. People are hungry for sports here, and people want to spend their money on sports here. So lumping us in with other small markets, Ryan Smith does not really agree with that. And I think that shows kind of how defensive he gets and how much he just loves Utah and in Salt Lake City, and again, this market, because he's willing to go to bat for us. And I really like that about the owner. I think he has made it clear several times that he's not just in this for himself. It's not just a personal investment. He really wants to see both of these franchises do well. And he knows what that would mean for everybody here in the state of Utah, Salt Lake City, everybody in the valley, basically from Logan down to St. George. That would be huge.
Yeah, it's so refreshing to hear, just because most owners they're just in it for the money.
Right.
They do not care what city they're in, who they're representing, any of that. And it seems like Ryan Smith really takes pride in Utah, in the people of Utah, all of it. Homegrown,
baby. That's how it is. And then he also talked a little bit, of course, about the Utah Mammoth, that big announcement. That was such a fun rollout. They released a little video kind of explaining, obviously Mammoth has ties to Utah because they found fossils here, and it really ties into the whole, ice hockey and the ice theme and the colors that they had already established. So he talked about that name and the process that went into it, and he said they had almost 1 million total votes on all the surveys that he did throughout that whole process. He did mention that he doesn't know if he would do that again because it was kind of a mess. And I like that he brought up, it's easy for somebody to just plug into AI or Chat GPT or whatever. Hey, give me a logo of what a Utah Mammoth sports team would look like. And then say, hey, Ryan, your logo sucks. This is what it should look like. So that was something that, it's hard to please everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the local sentiment, I felt like it was overall positive about the logo.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people outside that just say that it looks kind of, I don't know.
They say it looks
Mickey
like
Mouse
it from a
or-
video game.
Yeah.
You'll buy the
Create a
NHL
team.
video games, and there's a create a team option, and they have all these logos that are pre-generated and loaded into it, and that's kind of the biggest negative I've seen, like you're mentioning, nationally. People are saying this looks like a create a team logo, but who cares? I like it, and everybody here likes it, and I think that's what matters most. I think people were really stoked about the branding. Locally, the biggest knock that I've heard, a lot of people have asked me, why is it Mammoth and not Mammoths, right?
Yeah.
From what I've kind of been told and brought to understand is, number one, Mammoth is already kind of a mouthful to say. There's a lot of consonants in there, and adding the S just doesn't flow exactly right.
Instantly makes you sound like you have a lisp almost.
A little bit.
Mammoths.
Right. It's clunky.
Doesn't roll.
And then on top of that, keeping it singular to Mammoth, it kind of allows you to do the double meaning kind of thing where you can say mammoth meaning size.
Yeah.
You know, grand and large and big and intimidating. So there's kind of a play on that double meaning there. And I've seen some people like actually really annoyed and really upset that it's singular, which I think is a really funny thing to get upset about.
I know. It's a lot of people don't like teams not being pluralized.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that at all. Because
like, really, that's what you're going to get worked up about?
Well, yeah, and then in the video they mentioned that it's one team, it's one mammoth.
Right.
To collectively
exactly.
we are a mammoth.
The team is the mammoth, and it's also, again, going back to the double meaning thing. It's intimidating, it's big. So I like it. In recent, history, Seattle Kraken, right? They're singular. There's no S there. And then on top of that, mammoth, maybe it's like deer or moose or whatever, where the plural just doesn't have an S. Like, does it really matter? So I think that was really funny. But overall, super excited. I like all the branding. I've seen a ton of gear already. They've been selling gear immediately. I like the new font. I believe they're calling it the Mammoth Sands or something like that. And I like the U with the tusk coming out of it. The whole tusks up, hashtag. Really fun.
Yeah.
And I think the sweaters look really good. I like that they kept the white jersey with the diagonal Utah, and then they're putting the Mammoth logo on the black one. Because I think it's important to keep something around from the inaugural season, right? Because that was so special. And getting rid of that immediately, I think, would be a mistake. But holding on to it, I think would be cool.
Yeah, I think they also have that state outline with the hockey stick that also has
that's my
UTH.
favorite logo. Yeah.
And that kind of throws back a little bit to that logo last year that was on the sweater.
So cool. And overall, I think it looks really clean. And again, I love the colors. I think that was a great decision initially with the rock black, mountain blue, and salt white is what they're calling it. And again, that just goes hand in hand with the mammoth. And last little detail that I really enjoyed from that video, there was a little girl in the video holding a Stanley Cup in her hand.
I didn't even notice that.
No detail goes without thought going into it, because who's Stanley's biggest competitor?
The Yeti.
The Yeti. And who blocked SEG from getting the Yeti name?
I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody, because again, it's the whole Chekhov's gun theory, like in movies. Like anything that's introduced is there for a reason. It's important. So you make this little teaser video, no detail is in there without thought. So I loved that. That was my favorite part. The Utah Mammoth, speaking of lotteries, they had their own luck revisiting this. They jumped from number 14 to number 4 in the NHL draft lottery. They actually won the number 2 overall pick in the lottery, but the highest, you can only jump 10 spots with the NHL, the way they do their lottery. So instead of jumping to 2, they jumped all the way to 4, which regardless is a huge jump, because you go into this, you have a 95% chance of picking number 14. So you assume that's where you're going to be. You're looking at that point at like the 3rd or 4th tier of prospects in the draft. Moving all the way up to number 4, now you're like, okay, we are going to get one of the best players in this draft.
Yep.
And that's huge for a team that was literally on the doorstep of making the Stanley Cup playoffs. Adding a player, of course, we know in the NHL they're not going to contribute right away. We're going to see them a couple years down the line when they start to make an impact. But regardless, that's another asset to have and another thing to bring in for the future of this team and all the momentum going forward. I have seen some people wondering, hey, maybe a trade comes available and they're able to trade that number 4 overall pick and make a big move this summer. I don't know if Bill Armstrong is ready to be that aggressive quite yet, but it is an option. And if it could help you bring in somebody that that really puts you over the top this year, along with whatever else you're able to do in free agency, $22 million or something like that. A lot of fun money to spend. So this team is ready to take the next step forward next season, and bringing in the Utah Mammoth name just kind of puts a cap on it. And it's like, okay, let's do this thing, right? We're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the next season. I can't wait.
It's going to be a fun summer. There are some big moves that are going to happen. We don't know what they're going to be yet, but the draft and then free agency, let's go. Let's take a break here. Coming up on the other side, we're going to go technical fouls, low-hanging fruit here, but I'm going to make fun of some jersey number selections for NFL rookies that have come out. Some guys are choosing some weird numbers for their jerseys. I want to talk about that and how important that is next. It's the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Drop in for one of our delicious gourmet burgers made with 100% choice Grand Chuck. We're in Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's, quality, and a lot of it.
If you're coming from the street with dirty shoes on your feet, that's a technical foul. If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you touch the thermostat,
You'll get hit with a bat.
'cause that's a technical foul.
You will feel my wrath.
That's a technical foul.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
A technical foul.
You heard it there, folks. It's time for Technical Fouls, the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, one of our favorite segments. Every single week, we get to talk about some of the sillier things that happen in the world of sports. Start things off going with Cam Scatterbo, running back for the New York Giants. Of course, everybody here locally knows him. They love him. He was with Arizona State last year, helped them make a push in the NCAA college football tournament there, the college football playoffs. Of course, he did a lot of great things for the Sun Devils. He was drafted by the New York Giants, and they announced the rookie jersey numbers the last couple days across the NFL, at least for minicamp, because these things change throughout the summer as people get traded or whatever and numbers open up. Anyway, Cam Scatterbo is going to be wearing number 44 for the New York Giants. Sean, do you know why I have an issue with this?
No, I have no idea.
Do you know what Cam Scatterbo's biggest knock was coming out of Arizona State?
No.
It's that he was slow.
Oh, okay.
That's why he wasn't an elite running back prospect, because he was very, very good for Arizona State. He's so hard to bring down. He's very tough, physical runner. He's going to pick up yards, but he's slow. He's very slow.
Okay.
I think he ran like a 4.6 40-yard dash, which is slow for a running back. Wearing number 44 definitely doesn't help that problem.
It does seem like a bit of a fullback.
Yeah, you know who wears numbers in the 40s? The slowest skill position players on the team. You know what number I wore my senior year in high school, Sean?
What's that?
48. You know what position I was?
Nuh-uh.
I was a fullback.
Okay.
Take a guess. Do you think I was fast or slow?
I'm going to, I'll give you credit. I think you're fast.
I was slow. Thank you. I was slow. So yeah, wearing number 44 as a player whose biggest knock is that you're not very fast, I think that's pretty funny. Not doing himself any favors there, but in all seriousness, we are kind of rooting for Cam Scatterbo, even though that he's kind of a Big 12 rival with the local schools here. I think everybody liked him. I don't know of anybody.
I loved him.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that really didn't like Scatterbo, and he's kind of got the whole underdog mentality, coming from a small school and then transferring to Arizona State, and then again, really just putting the team on his back. They wouldn't have made the push in the playoffs if it wasn't for him. So there's that. Also sticking with NFL rookie mini camps that we're seeing throughout the week. This came out just barely this morning. The Shedeur Sanders hype train has just got to stop. It's got to stop, and it's not going to. I know it's not going to. But this is so unfair to him, and things need to chill. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski was meeting with the media after their first practice, and you know what the first question to him was? Why did Dylan Gabriel get the first reps at quarterback instead of Shedeur Sanders?
Oh, my gosh.
I'll tell you why. Dylan Gabriel, 2nd-round pick. Shedeur Sanders, 5th-round pick. Also, it's rookie mini camp. who cares?
Yeah, somebody's
who's
gotta-
getting the first reps.
It's one or the other. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything right now.
You'll hear coaches say like, "Oh, I don't care about draft position. I don't know how much money. I don't care how much money you're getting paid. You know, I'm going to go with my guys." And that's how a lot of coaches operate. But the reality of it is the first practice of rookie minicamp, when it's these guys' first time ever stepping foot, you know, on an NFL practice field, yeah, you're going to go in order of where they were drafted, right? You're not going to put your 5th round rookie out there over your 2nd round rookie just because he's got a famous last name.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a little ridiculous. And I also saw a clip of Shedeur talking about obviously his relationship with Tom Brady, and they're pretty close. And Tom has given him some advice about falling that far in the draft, yada, yada. And Shedeur basically said, you know, my career is going to look a lot like Tom Brady's. And I think that's dangerous. I'm just going to say it. I think it's dangerous for Shedeur to be thinking and talking like that. Of course, you would like that to happen, right? Best case scenario. But the reality of it is 5th round quarterbacks typically do not last in the NFL.
Yeah, it's very few and far between.
My advice to Shedeur would be focus on making it in the league first before you worry about doing what Tom Brady did. And I know everybody that comes into the league wants to do what Tom Brady did. So you're not really separating yourself by saying that.
Yeah, I think having that mentality is a good thing.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be telling everybody.
No.
Because that just sets their expectations for you.
Again, it was embarrassing how far you fell in the draft. It's a circus, and it's going to continue to be a circus for probably the next year.
Oh, yeah.
360 whatever days.
The moment, who are they going to be trotting out as the starter? I mean,
yeah, nobody knows.
How many quarterbacks do they have? They're just going to be asking questions about him all year until he starts playing.
If Dylan Gabriel ends up being the starting quarterback, all they're going to talk about is when is Shedeur going to play. If Shedeur Sanders is the starting quarterback, all they're going to talk about is, oh my goodness, he fell so far in the draft. Who cares? Like, you're on the team. Go to work. Let the work speak for itself. So there's that. But I'm sure we're going to get a lot of Shedeur Sanders technical fouls again as this continues. My final technical foul for the segment. One thing I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, I'm not a fan of the way that the NBA does their season awards. I like, for example, the NFL, they do an awards show right before the Super Bowl. The night before the Super Bowl is when everything is announced, and it's clean. You know, they make a show out of it, almost like the Grammys or the Oscars, whatever. They make a big show out of it. They invite everybody. And it's very ceremonial, very professional. And I really like that. The NBA, I'll be, working or doing chores or whatever on a random Tuesday, and I'll get a notification. Cleveland Cavaliers forward Evan Mobley has won Defensive Player of the Year.
I didn't even know they were giving out awards already.
Right.
And
then a couple weeks later, most improved player, Dyson Daniels. Like it's a slow roll throughout the first couple weeks of the playoffs. And I don't think I'm the biggest fan of that. Because number one, it's hard, like you said, it's hard to keep up with. Sometimes it just flies right over.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as like, I've curated my Twitter to be sports.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't come across my Twitter, like how? That doesn't make sense.
I think MVP is the only one that has not been announced yet. Spurs guard Steph Castle, Rookie of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, like I said, Evan Mobley. Most Improved Player, Dyson Daniels. Sixth Man of the Year, Peyton Pritchard with the Celtics. Clutch Player of the Year, Jalen Brunson. Coach of the Year, Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson. So, again, it's just a slow roll, and I don't think I'm the biggest fan of it because it just feels like it's not important when they do it this way.
Yeah, it goes by the wayside very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like the NFL is really good at keeping the hype of it all.
Yeah. And it's easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I can barely remember. I don't even know who won it last year because they don't make a big deal out of it at all. So,
And
Not
it's a
a
big
fan.
deal for the players' contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be good to know going into an offseason.
Right. Evan Mobley in particular, this is actually a really big deal for the Cavaliers because now he's eligible for a Supermax. And, that type of stuff is important to know, but it's so easy to forget when they do it this way. So not a fan of that. I would recommend the NBA does it similar to the NFL. Like, just do an awards ceremony. And I get that it's not the biggest deal. Like, you're not going to get people tuning in because they've got to see who won NBA's Defensive Player of the Year. But, button it up. Button it up. Make it professional. Make somewhat of a deal about it. So, time for another break. Coming up next, we're going to stick with the NBA playoffs. A lot of fun basketball this week. The second round has been so much more fun than the first round. A lot to talk about. So we'll hit that next. It's the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.